into the variable valve timing window, and let's go ahead and fire it off and get the engine running real quick here. Okay, now it's running. So we can see here the engine speed, we're about roughly 1,000 RPM here in our live data window. If we take a look in some of our parameters list here, we're seeing that the inlet bank 1 signal is showing no signal, cam signal error, as we're finding there's an error right here. Now, looking at this, the cam sensor input was on digital 1. Let me just double check my notes here to see if we have that on a different input here. Just give me 1 second. Try to keep myself organized here as best as possible. Digital 1 is what I'm seeing the cam position sensor come in on, but it is throwing an error here. So that's something that's not ideal. We want to make sure that that is right. Now the output we set to aux 2, which should be correct. That's the factory location, but the digital 1 should also be correct. Now there's a pull-up resistor, which is probably the reason why it's not working. Let's turn that on. It's a Hall effect signal sensor, which does require a pull-up resistor. I bet that's probably the issue here. And now we can see that it is active and it's okay. So it looks like that wasn't toggled on. And again, little details and settings do make a difference in order to make sure things are configured right. So the pull-up resistor needs to be on for the Hall effect sensor. That fixed our problem. And again, we could see that system status went from cam error to active, and the signal is showing okay. Now, looking at this, we've set the cam control mode as Honda K20 VTC. What this is going to do is use the link provided PID, proportional integral derivative gain control and setup. Using one of the plug and play options here right from link usually works. We don't have to get too much digging into the PID setup for the variable cam control. Saves us a lot of headaches and a lot of time. What we're going to do here is perform a cam angle test. We can see it's turned off right now, but we can manually set this and manually set our tooth offsets here. This makes sure it's tracking the correct positions of when the cam position sensor is moving around. Now, there's 4 teeth on the cam position sensor on the intake cam that track the movement of the cam when we're commanding it to rotate a certain amount of degrees here in our target table. It needs to track that actual movement of the position of the sensor. So we need to make sure that this tooth offsets are properly represented right. Now when we select the Honda K20 here, it should populate this already, and in the base file from link, this is probably not going to be an issue at all. It's probably going to all set up and work. Again, I'm working with this monsoon map and trying to retrofit this to this plug and play application, so you probably won't have to go through all of this, but we always want to do a cam test, in a calibrate mode, just so we know that it's calibrated right and everything's going to function properly, validating that we have a good cam position signal for the variable cam control to work with. So I'm going to go here to cam angle test, double click and go into calibrate and click OK, and now we can see that it's going through the calibration mode right now and everything looks good. So it is calibrated our tooth offsets here. Everything looks good. It's showing that it's active and it's okay. So now when we command a variable cam movement, we're looking at this in the next video, everything should work and it should go right to the target that we're commanding. Now I can tell you, if you've worked with the G4 Plus system for any variable cam control, it worked, but it wasn't the best. The G4X is substantially better for variable cam control. It's much quicker, there's so much less setup. The G4 Plus, we had to go through and manually set all this up and do a test mode. We don't have to do that anymore. This is a really, really awesome feature, and it updates an improvement over the G4 Plus with the G4X. So that's going to be it here, wrapping up, taking a look at everything in our tutorial. Let me shut off the engine so we can talk a little bit easier. Again, the goal of this video is really proofing what we built in the base map creation, catching any mistakes that we have, and making sure that everything has been validated so we're able to fire off the engine, have it hold its own idle, and then being able to have something like variable cam control validated, inputs and outputs all validated, and then we can move into the actual calibration process, looking at part throttle calibration, looking into full throttle calibration. We have a lot left to cover here. What we're going to be doing in the next tutorial, part throttle cruise, we're going to be looking at fuel and spark timing optimization process, variable cam control, and fuel injection timing. And then we're going to move into doing full throttle tuning, looking at low cam, looking at high cam. Once we get all that mapped out, once we have all the variable cam control sorted out and the knob control, everything is going to be working properly. We're then going to be taking a look at the flex fuel control, cold start, setting up a launch control, looking at the acceleration enrichment setup. We have a lot of topics and things to discuss here as we keep moving through all the tutorials. Again, that's going to wrap it up here. Any questions or comments on anything we cover here in the tutorial, post your comment or questions into the video comment section or into the private forum. I'll see you guys now in the next tutorial here, looking at our part throttle cruise calibration process. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.